Greetings, sir and sirettes, and welcome back to From the Depths with me, Lathrix, and of course, welcome to a very odd-looking menu screen, the Game Constants configuration, which I may have had to try and say at least 4 times to get that correct. Either way, we're here very briefly before getting back into the game, because between the last episode and this one, there has been a massive update to From the Depths. The AI now needs detection systems for it to see enemies, and then you can customize these detection systems to either make yourself incredibly stealthy, to make yourself incredibly accurate, and there's a whole host of other things you can do with this system. Because over the weekend I'm actually going to a wedding, it's a family wedding, even my German relatives are coming over, it's going to be a big thing, I don't really have time right now to see through all the detection system, to get used to it, and to really learn it. So for now, I am going into this menu. I normally try to avoid this menu, and I'm turning this section here to 1. This essentially means it's almost as if the detection system isn't in play. All ships will be fairly accurate without the detection system. They can see targets, they can still prioritize targets, everything as it is as if it was there before the update. So with that, let's get straight back into the adventure mode. Here we are then, back in the adventure mode, and it's time to do some serious upgrading, because with this update, in addition to the detection system, the material and resource systems have been massively changed. No longer are they all separate things, even the oil has all been converged into one thing, which I believe is simply called material, or scrap, or something like that. In fact, yes it is, it's called material. So with that, it means we can seriously upgrade our little helicopter. So what I'm going to do is quickly turn off our rotor blades so that we descend back into the water, because that will make upgrading a lot easier. If we're in the air whilst we do the upgrades, our centre of mass is going to be constantly changed, and then we'll probably spin out, I will fall off the craft and die. It's probably one of the worst ways to die in this game, death by incompetence. We may have to be a little bit quicker than I originally thought. I thought I was safe, because that ship over there seems to be hardly moving, but we now have enemies over there as well, including one flyer. So let's get the upgrades underway so that we can get back into the air and get out of here as soon as possible. The first thing I'm going to do is replace most of the hull with metal. Now the big problem with this, of course, is that metal is very, very heavy, so very likely I'm also going to have to upgrade the engines after doing this. If we have enough resource after this, then a new weapon will be installed very likely on the front of the craft. Either an advanced cannon with as little recoil as possible, or perhaps some kind of anti-air missile launcher, a very fast, very cheap missile with a lot of turning capability. That will probably be the best option. So I'll be right back once I've upgraded the armor as much as possible with the resources we have. We are already back in the air, so it seems like it is true, if you stay in one place for too long, enemies will start to converge on your location. There are far too many things currently after us, so we're already moving. A bit cowardly, I admit, but honestly, at this stage, I think trying to avoid the very strong enemies and just go for resource zones, and just try and stay as safe as possible will be the best option. Just continuing onwards then for at least a little while. That over there is a very large ship, which means a lot of resource, and by the looks of it, not much anti-air. We now have a tiny little missile turret on the front because I got scared by a plane and copied and pasted our torpedo launchers, and then swapped the weapon to make it a little bit more viable for anti-air. Look, it has loads of fins and a tiny little bit of fuel. It's very short range, but it's quite agile. Okay, so we've just put in the AI target prioritization card, and this is for the anti-air missiles. Although I will be replacing that turret hopefully fairly soon, I will be keeping that style of weapon here, which means I may as well set up this now. So the main thing I am going to be after is, I want it to be mostly targeting flyers, and I want to be targeting somewhat fast targets, so speed gets a little bonus as well, so high up targets and those which are moving fast. All of that I don't really mind too much. In terms of range, that's pretty standard, so now we should go after flyers more so than anything else. Although at the moment the bayleaf is really high purely because how big it is, so I actually don't care about that. So no value per block, no value per weapon, no value per this. Don't really care about their propulsion. Don't really care about how many engines they have. So right now we should only be focusing on how high they are and how fast they are, since this is meant to be the anti-speed, anti-flyer weapon. Ooh, and hello. We are coming into contact with a flyer and a bayleaf. Okay then. Upon getting a little bit closer, I think the best course of action is to run away very sharpish from this fight. Not only is there a white flyer's flyer, not only is there a giant Onyx Watch ship, not only is there a unspecified sort of airship coming towards us, there's also a member of the Twin Guard throwing out missiles everywhere. I really think that we do not want to be part of this fight, as much as I am really in the mood to try and kill something right now with this terrible, terrible little helicopter. This is not the fight we want to be part of. The only reason I think we would stay here is to try and pick up some material from those who die. So maybe we can stay around the edges and wait until there's only one enemy left, and then, if we're very, very lucky, we could perhaps pick off the weakest one. Now, that white flyer's target isn't actually the strongest. Although it's stronger than us, it doesn't have much in the way of weaponry. It does have some missiles, but that's about it, and they're not particularly powerful missiles at that. It's mostly a ramming vessel, so if we stay somewhere nearby, like vultures, we could easily pick up on the carcass of the last one standing. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. The white flyer ship has just rammed the airship. That is scary, honestly, because that means that that thing is perfectly capable of hitting aircraft. Which, of course, includes us. Doesn't seem to have done all that much damage, but definitely still scary for something as small as we are. That giant airship, yeah, that can probably take a hit or two. Us, we'll be lucky if we take one cram cannon shot, honestly. Up to 1,000 material now. Ooh, our first green portal. Which is the easier portal. Oh, excellent, that thing's about to die. When that dies, we can get the resource, and then I think I may run towards the green warp gate. Admittedly, do we really need to go to an even easier plane than we are right now? Probably not, but I'll be very happy to go there so that we can do a little bit of retrofitting, if I can get my words out. We're now at 3,000 material. I don't think being here any longer is really good for us, so we're going to get out of here. Where's the aircraft gone? Where has the aircraft gone? I can see the white flyers version, but where's the giant one gone? Can we perhaps swoop in and start doing some damage against the bayleaf? Especially now we're not allowing it to broadside us. Maybe this is a possible win for us. I would simply capture the ships, but the problem is, if we try and capture them, unless they are the Heartstone currently active, whilst we're capturing them, I will die. On top of this, my lovely aircraft here will just continue to go forwards until the end of time, and I will have no way to teleport back on top of it, so we will lose this craft if we try and capture something, which is not something I really want to do. Okay, stop here. If we get any closer, our torpedoes won't have enough time to arm themselves. So just stay here and continuously throw torpedoes at the enemy, I suppose. Little bits of resource here and there as we do damage to it. Okay, no closer. That's the closest I want to get. Whilst I'm sitting here, very slowly doing damage, I've decided to use a complex controller. This means we can actually have some backwards thrust, which we can manually control, which would be really, really useful, to be honest. So there we are, this should be up as well. So should that, okay. These both should be on down. And then these two should be right, and the other two should be left. So this way, left, right, back, forwards. All is good. We are slowly getting there. I mean, if this thing doesn't die because it's healing faster than we're dealing damage, this is essentially a resource zone. Because we're just very slowly harvesting it. That white flyer is not giving up. Oh, and it has missiles. Well, this'll hurt. EMP. Surprisingly, EMP is like the least scary right now, because it means it can't deal damage and cause explosions. But there we go, thanks to the white flyer, which is still a mouthful, that ship is finally going to be destroyed, and now we can focus on the white flyer. Say that 5 times very quickly whilst very intoxicated. On the downside, the Onyx Watch vessel was harvested by the White Flyer vessel. On the upside, we did get enough resource that we were able to afford this lovely little mine-laying setup. So, with that enemy over there, we're going to get as close as possible and then drop all of our mines, hopefully doing enough damage. Also, by the looks of it, one of our turrets have completely bugged out. I can't wait until I have enough to completely replace them, because they are, for want of a better term, absolutely terrible. And that was a very quick kill. It seems like our missiles were good enough to sink that craft, which is actually a shame, because I really wanted to try out the mines. It seems like that's not going to be necessary, but on the upside we will get some... Ooh, no, never mind. It's bugged out enough, it's back over there, and drop the mines! Hopefully that'll be close enough. They are magnetic, so even if it's somewhat close, those mines will activate and hopefully do some damage. There they go, and... detonating all over the thing, knocking it around because explosions have some weirdly strong physics now. Finishing off pretty well. So actually, by the looks of it, those mines are going to be our best damage dealer, since each of them is the equivalent of a single warhead. So we got some harvest from there, which is great. So there's the green. Do we want to go toward... yeah, okay, let's go towards the warp gate, just so we can see what warp gates actually do. Although we really don't need lower difficulty, it would just be nice to refit there, to retrofit, to change our vessel. A quick change of plan. Before we go towards that lovely green warp gate, we are going to go towards that resource zone. We desperately need the resource at the moment. Even our center of mass is currently very, very off. So we do need to do some work very soon, otherwise we're just going to be even more useless in combat. A full metal casing is now in place, which means we can get to work adding some better weaponry. And to start off with, we are going to be adding a new missile silo, which will be our anti-air. The original anti-air, which was on the front there, was pretty much worthless. I think it's safe to say it was not there for very much effect. It was there because I needed an anti-air weapon quickly, and that was easy to make. So now we're still making a very easy to make thing, but this should hopefully do far, far better. Just extend these along here, there we are. Doesn't need to be cruise missiles, just needs to be a standard medium range missile. We're not going to go with lasers for now, at least, sorry, laser designated missiles for now. We're just going to keep it very, very simple. We will upgrade to those eventually, just not at the moment. Now, how do I want to do this? I think I'll do it like this. Sorry for the lag, but sadly in the distance it seems like the enemies are fighting each other and occasionally colliding. This is causing a very annoying, very noticeable amount of lag at very infrequent times. It's just overall very, very annoying. Something like that, so it connects to the main structure as well. So it all looks a little bit more connected, because before this it was all very, here's a component and here's a component, and it's kind of on a shell. It just didn't look particularly good. Now at least it looks like it's at least part of one thing. Put these underneath. And then we will set up the AI, so it will target air targets as a priority. The resource zone was just finished, and instantly we are already under attack, and by the looks of things, it's by a very small Onyx Watch ship. So hopefully our new missile systems can be tested against it and proven to be either decent, or maybe proven to require more work. Honestly, with my engineering level, they'll probably need more work, but we'll see as we continue. Should have moved a little bit earlier than that. We could have dodged that by a fair larger margin. There go the torpedoes. The missiles are hitting the front and didn't do all that much. They are triple warhead and they are all fragments, so they should do pretty decently, honestly. There's no reason why they should do anything but that. It's generally quite hard to do missiles wrong, as long as you have the warhead set up correctly, and AI dead, so they must have been doing a decent bit of internal damage, just no massive explosions. Sadly, this means we can't use our little minefield against it. But at least the missiles are working, and so we now have the ability to kill very small targets, which is something, I suppose. And so, we go to our first warp gate, hopefully not running into the enemies, which are both over here. There were like 4 enemies originally, so I'm assuming they all killed each other. So it turns out, with this particular warp gate, you've got to be pretty darn low. So let's set this to only 50 meters high, and this way we should be able to actually enter. This is the 3rd attempt at trying to go through this warp gate. But let's all pretend it's the first. Just pretend I didn't tell you that, and you can all be happy and ignorant of the facts. Turning, turning, turning. Turning speed is still a little bit to be desired. And we are almost out of fuel, so we need to reset some of our fuel storages. Either way, here we go, into the warp gate. Why is it so difficult to enter the... Well, I entered the warp gate, and the game almost crashed, so I do apologise if the audio went really weird then, like it just cut out. But there we are, and we are in our new little world. Full of mist and fog and horror. So it seems like we went towards one of the western gates which have the worst weather. So, the east is over there. We're going to now turn eastward and hopefully find either a green or red gate in this direction, which hopefully will lead me to somewhere less misty and less rainy. Though saying that, right now we have no enemies against us, so what we could do is start to upgrade our vessel whilst we're relatively safe. In fact, I think that's exactly what we're going to do. As soon as we get back to our original height, I had to lower myself to 50 meters just to go through that gate. Munition warners are all in place on the back of the craft, the front of the craft, and the side of the craft, and we have a very oversized flare system. This way, when a missile is detected within 667 meters of our aircraft, this will happen. And thus, hopefully, as long as they're not laser designated, the missiles will follow the flares rather than hitting the craft itself. At least that's the theory, and hopefully it will all work out. The last thing we need to do is simply add a centralized mainframe which will connect all of the munition warners together, and thus, if we're lucky, this should now say connected to mainframe. Yes, it is, which means now we have an anti-missile system, which is really, really nice. We also have a random carburetor here, so let's remove that, and we are good to go and hopefully find either an enemy or a way out of this purgatory we're currently in. I've just found a green warp gate, but also in the distance I found a red warp gate. So I've decided we are going to go towards the harder warp gate because honestly, this area is very, very boring. I've only encountered one enemy and the fight was over so quickly I didn't even realise we were fighting. Our torpedoes simply took it out. So I can only assume it was one of the Deepwater Guard very small ships, or perhaps one of the very small submarines from something like the, what's it called, the Twin Guard, or something similar to that. Before I forget, I have also upgraded our torpedo system. We now have ballasts on the torpedoes themselves, meaning they will go deeper underwater and hopefully hit the bottom of the target rather than the side of the target. In addition to this, we also have the ejector add-ons, which means we are throwing them at the enemy with some force rather than simply dropping them into the water. This should hopefully get them towards the target a lot faster and then deal more damage, if we're lucky. Now, if this all works, that's fantastic, because I haven't really added any extra size to the weapon itself or to the torpedoes themselves, which means nothing is more expensive than it was before. So here we are then at the next warp gate, thankfully a red one, because like I say, this was remarkably boring. So let's get nice and close, and then we will lower ourselves and hopefully teleport. And stop, backwards thrust on. I'm actually quite happy with this overall. Let's just save, just in case the game crashes, because last time it almost crashed. There we are, let's go down to 25, because honestly, we need to be really low for this. And you as well, 25. Aim. Target. Through the warp gate. Okay, that time nothing happened. Fantastic. So hopefully from now on there will be no random freezes of the game. Up to 150. And for you, up to 150 as well. There we are, back to our normal height. And with that, though, I'm afraid I am all out of time for today's episode. If you have enjoyed the episode, then of course, likes, favourites, shares, comments, all that good stuff helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, shows that From the Depths Adventure Mode is a series you wish to see continued in the future. In the next episode, we will continue to upgrade our helicopter and hopefully fight some stronger opponents. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.